All right. So, if you are new to Real Talk, this is a weekly segment we do at 4 p.m. every week where we look at a couple demo reels and portfolio pieces and websites and just online presences of various sound designers and composers, mainly sound designers, ideally. Composers sneak in occasionally, though. Don't worry, all caps don't work. Yeah, Angela. Thank you. I was worried. So we judge these reels based on a few criteria. They're right here. So they're presentation, material selection, content quality, and distinction. Presentation being just kind of how they present themselves in total. That includes their website layout. That includes things like, everything from broad strokes like the website layout down to the details like typos. And then, of course, presentation of the reel itself as far as its flow and if it's like bookended well, if there's like good transitions, that kind of thing. If there's material selection is all about if you are adequately presenting what you can do as a designer or what they would like to see in a designer. If you're putting in a bunch of cartoons and you want to get a game design job or get like a game sound design job, of course that might not be the ideal material to put in there. Content quality is naturally just like, is it good? If it's in there, is it good? And if not, we'll tell you why, or what you could how it could stand to be improved. And distinction is kind of like a buzzword that Matt and I use just to represent anything that you might be doing at all in the reel or out of the reel that would set you apart from other competitors in the same field. Because sound design, there's a lot of people out there who want to do what you do. And when you apply, you gotta stand out somehow. So if your reel is like some stuff, and like a bunch of trailer redesigns, there's a lot of people who do that really well. If yours is amazing, that helps, but it's not distinct from the industry at large. So I'm gonna close this again for a second so we can focus on the site and the reel itself. So here's the gist. Oh, it's a bit too wide right now. There we go. Okay. So Jordan Bean, thank you very much, man. That's Senior Zerg in the chat, by the way. Sorry what you said. I read a blog post from Pixar a long time ago. The maximum they recommend is 4 minutes in the process of trimming it down. Oh, maximum. Yeah, so maximum is like... Here's the thing. We were talking about flow. Who was it? Was it Mike Hughes? No, it wasn't Mike. I don't recall. Maybe it was Angela, actually. There was a 2-minute reel that, again, we recommend 1 minute max. Like, just do 1 minute, period. It's all you need. Once you go past 1 minute, you tend to be getting into the realm of redundancy. Unless you're really good and you have a crazy laundry list of titles, you can probably stand to keep it at 1 minute. Like, even if you have a laundry list, just put less time for each thing in the list, and that's fine, because it's just like, it's going to be overwhelming and great. And they'll say, wow, it's a lot of good stuff, you know? As opposed to, I'm still watching this. The moment they think, ugh, like, get on with it, then you've failed. So... As far as the site here goes, I like this, but I feel like this should be beneath this right away. Though the fact is it's only these things, it's only these two things, it's very positive. As a sound designer or as a aspiring employee of a given studio or contractor for a given client, you, of course, want to present what's most important right away, because you don't know how much time they have or how much time they're willing to give you. And if that time is near zero, then you should accommodate for near zero time. If I get here, you're not going to have a crazy zoomed in page. It's going to be more like this. So right away I can see, oh, reel's here, done, I can play it. So it's not a big deal. But I like it when there's just like the reel first, that's all you have. Just poof, that's all you need to know. And then there's like an about page over here that says all this stuff, if I care. Because not to be mean, but if this sucks and they don't know you from Adam, they won't care about this. It's just kind of the way it is. So, that said, I am a freelance audio engineer from St. Louis, Missouri. I began with an internship at an entertainment venue called The Jumpin' Jupiter, where I worked in show production and design. After being hired on as lead technician, I was also brought into Jupiter Recording Studios, where I started producing with artists of various genres. Currently, I freelance as a full-service audio engineer and travel the country working in live sound production, system design, and radio broadcast. It's pretty varied. Cool. Okay. I look forward to creating with you soon. Rad. So we'll just glance around real fast. There's some sound design and music. Is this where we are right now, basically? Okay, it's kind of elaborated. Yo, Ashen, what's up? Okay, and oh, you know what? Jeff Tangsock, my co-founder, was like, "Yo," because Jordan Bean tweeted us and said, "Hey, here's my site," and of course we both have the Twitter on our phone, right? So we both saw the tweet come in, and he looked at it, and I purposely didn't look at it, and I failed to say to the stream's beginning, but I actively don't look at anything beforehand because I want to emulate as accurately as possible kind of a first impression of what some prospective employer might have going in blind to your site. Like they wouldn't have already researched it, obviously, right? So I'm going in knowing nothing, and you'll get the impression of what that person you applied for might do. Did you do this game? Can we talk about this, Joey? I don't even know. But anyways, Ashen. Yes, I know what Ashen is. I'm very we'll say we're very familiar with Ashen. Yes. Okay, so sound design is its own page. I guess this is the main page here, and music, contact. All right, cool. What's up, man? You look like you're just begrudgingly getting your photo taken here. You're like, oh, fine, just take it. All right. So, and SoundCloud, Twitter, Vimeo, great. So we'll go to the homepage again. This is the important one, I guess. Like, this stuff could go on your contact or your about or something. I don't know. I don't think it needs to be here. I just like this. These pages are so nice with how clean they are. I feel like you could do better on the front page, too. That's just my opinion. So, we'll jump in here, yeah? And I'll double-check my volumes up in total. I'll mute. Don't look at the clock. Oh, yeah, so by the way, as we're watching through, if it gets to a point in the reel that I would stop watching, you know, if you guys were out there watching with me, if I was just on this site and checking it out, press play, and then it plays for 10 seconds, I'm like, all right, I've seen enough. I'll let you know, but we'll watch the whole thing, okay? So let's go full screen and HD and do it, yeah? And I'll kill my mic for a second. Sorry. Just FYI, I'd be FYI. Well, that was fun. FYI, I'd be skipping through big time by now. Probably by like halfway through Ashen, I would have been skipping through. But we'll watch. Here we go. We're carrying on.
Intruder alert. Drainage system access granted. Main control room open.
Thanks, man. All right, some claps in the chat, please. Some clappers if you could. Okay, so if Matt was here, I have a very, very good idea of what he might be talking about right now. So let's bring up that criteria again, yeah? And let's go through this thing in detail. Let's see here. Let's see, where are we? There we go. All right, so I will go back to this size instead. So right away, obviously, as we've already mentioned several times, there is 4 minutes and 15 seconds of content here. It's a lot. It's probably too much. In terms of presentation, you could easily see. Here's the thing. This is very common. We see this week and week again, where they have a separate page with like the whole thing right here. I just saw it. It's a minute and a half, and it's like, here's the action trailer, and it's a lot. You cut a bit of it. I think you cut the first maybe 20 seconds or so, but otherwise, like, that's the trailer. You know? So there's not really much reason to have that much of the piece in your main reel when the whole thing is readily available with like 2 button clicks, you know? Don't worry like, oh, but they're gonna miss this cool part, because if your stuff is legitimately impressive, if it's genuinely impressive, and I am genuinely impressed by your work, I will seek it out and I'll be like, cool, I want to see more. That's your whole goal in doing a reel, is in the first 10 seconds, 15 tops, like 5 ideally, you want the person watching it to think to themselves, either actively or passively, I want to see more. Okay? So if you succeed in doing that, they will click here and they will watch it. Don't worry, it's fine. So don't feel the need to include all the cool things in your reel. Yeah, I totally understand. Like he says there, I definitely had a fear of leaving out cool stuff, so I completely agree. Yeah, I was guilty of it too early on. I did a 2-minute reel of sound effects only, I think, when I was at my old job and I was looking for work elsewhere, or considering work elsewhere. And it was like only sound effects. And I sent the reel to my colleague, and he was like, yeah, it should be a minute. Like, you don't need 2 minutes straight of sound effects. I'm like, oh, but these things are so cool. He's like, yeah, cut half of them. You don't need all that stuff at all. It can be tough, but it's it can be a very good exercise to make yourself cut down to the absolute best material that you've ever made. And that goes for the rest of this too. Like you can show, like, we'll skip through here. Sorry, this is the wrong page. We've got this one here. So the first thing we see is this action trailer. Sure, I'll talk about the quality of it in a bit, but just in terms of presentation, we have a minute 15 So you've already breached the sacred minute with the first piece only. It's way too long. The next bit we've got. Sir, what was this again? I missed the title. Evolve. Yes, of course. All right, and this goes until when? Another minute or so? Yeah, it's like another minute and a bit. This is a long and ambitious trailer, by the way. A redesign. Definitely. And then Cube, of course, yes. Barney said, yeah, Cube for the win. So, this is cool. You've got the wise implementation, right? That's good. You sought it out and nailed it down and put your own work in there. That's really great. And then this next bit, Unreal, is really cool too. But they're all like a minute each. You could easily go and do 15 seconds each, and I'd get the idea. Your whole point of doing the Unreal and Wise stuff is saying, yeah, I'm under the hood too. I'm not just doing redesigns, and that's very effective and that's very valuable, but we don't need to see the full minute. It's not relevant for the reel. Okay? As far as the bookend, this is fine. I would put your information here also, and I put this at the beginning as well. Like bookend the whole thing, but the Jordan Bean, contact info, reel, Jordan Bean, contact info. Do that. It can't hurt, because if you're like really impressive and they want to hit you up, they're going to right away. You know, just make it very, very easy to get in touch. Don't make them search for your information. I know it's like a click away, but if you're just making them work less in, you know, the valuable time in their, or the valuable limited time in their day, then it's only going to be a good thing, you know? Cool. As far as like title stuff, looks great. It's fine. Jordan Bean, yep. Ashen signs on our placement. This is fine. It's tasteful. I like it. I really like it. Yo, can you show your mic plugin setup? Not easily. It's an EQ, a gate, a compressor, and a limiter. And the EQ has a curve like this. Just pump up that bass, and you're good to go. You'll sound nice and of course the closer you are to your mic as well, the more deep your voice gets. So easy. All right. And School of Game Audio alumni? Oh, perhaps. Yeah. Is that a Cube thing? Might be. Yo, VST host is good. Do it up. Okay, so we'll move on from presentation. Your titles are good. The flow is fine. Like there's even attention given to each one. That is good, but it's just too long. So if you just squash the whole thing in, you're gonna be great. All right. So now into, hey Dash, what's up? You've done a 0 minute reel of nothings, that kind of experience. No, that's the opposite. That's the absence of experience, yo. Okay, into material selection. Okay, awesome. It's good. Done. It's really good. And you have the sound design replacement. You have your trailer design. There's no music. I love it because it's a sound design reel. So no music is good. Really good. You have your implementation here. That's great too. And it's in 2 different engines too. That's awesome. So that's really, really good. As far as content quality goes, okay, let's talk about this for a second. So right away, remember what I was saying, the first 10 seconds, right? So the first 10 seconds, 5 ideally, 15 max, you want the person who's watching it to want to hear more. Okay, so that said, you need to put your best 15 seconds at the very front. So let's listen to your first 15 seconds. So I'm curious if anyone saw me jump, but I turned down my speakers just now. I turned it down because I had it at full volume, like where I usually listen to stuff at, the same volume, typical loud, or loud enough at least. And this bang, I was like, oh my god, it was definitely, and I know the trailer. Oh my god, dude, yeah, that's crazy. That's like a sound design jump scare, a little bit. And the thing is, I know the trailer. Like, I know this trailer inside out. And this bang, I did not see coming. I think that it's a bit dangerous. That choice is definitely a bit dangerous. If you can, like, build up to that or something, you're going from near silent ambience to explosive transient, and it's like borderline rude. it's a little bit rude to use a I use that word like a bit comically, but like a bit seriously too. You know, it's definitely pretty important to respect your audience. And in terms of the big skeleton too, the bang. It's okay. Here's the thing. All right. So I've talked about this in design streams in the past. Hey Ragnar, we're on the first one still, man. We're talking about content quality right now. So I've talked about designing sound for casual games in the past. Okay. And if I have something like a bell, and I have a little, a drumstick or a little tuning fork or a fork period, and I go ping on the bell, it's like a huge transient, right? It's real big. But if you take that same sound and go into it, like a little quick fade into it, it becomes fwing and not ping, and that becomes so much more polite. And we call that pre-life. Pre-life is a word we use for a variety of things, but generally it means something you don't see and you hear only, and you, in hearing it, you're kind of warned of the incoming thing's arrival. Okay? So with something like this, you could potentially have it that loud. It's pretty loud. You could potentially have it that loud and get away with it, but you need to work up to it. You can't just be like ambience and bam out of nowhere. It's gonna be like, and then you have this kind of staircase up to get there. So when it hits, the listener is like, oh yeah, something big's coming, and it's building up. And when the big thing hits, it's there. You hear it all the time in film. You ever hear an explosion happening? It's like, it's just warning the audience that there's like a huge explosion coming. It's like a bit kind of realistic, but it's definitely more embellished and elaborated and there functionally to just as courtesy to the audience. Okay, I'm gonna play that one more time for you guys with nothing there. Man, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I wish I had something prepared. I could just like go tunk, 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 and like demonstrate the difference of just staircasing up to it, and you could totally have it the same volume. You could. I'd still probably take down a bit, but you could get away with it. So we'll carry on here. Oh, what's up, Tom Wright? Good to see you, man. Really good. I believe we're looking at Tom's reel next week, right? Yeah, of course. Excellent. Okay, so Borderline Rude sounds like a fabulous script for itself. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Dash is right. It sounds more realistic as well if you kind of lead up to the sound rather than starting with a bang. Leading up to it kind of makes sense because, like, what caused the bang? Is it like something like a ice, like a pane of glass cracking, and it's just like pressure's applied until it can't take anymore? It's like and it just snaps right there. I don't feel like that's what's happening here. Like, there's not pressure being applied. It's like they're putting their hands in something, and I mean, it's up to you. It's up. This is a very good example of something that is completely up to the designer, and something's happening like behind the wall, obviously, in the inner workings of this thing. Whether it's magic or whether it's mechanisms or what, we have no idea. But it's really important to kind of get that across, because right now they put their hands in there, and then what? So you can see when they walk up, there's these things here, right? And they go, and they push something. And there's like a bit of, it's there, but it's not much, and it doesn't give any indication to the weight of what's happening here, just like apart from the blast of the movement, okay? That's a big part of it. We're spending a lot of time talking about this one thing, but all right, so what's up, Davor115? Wow, amazing audio. Yeah, we're doing audio stuff, yo. Welcome on in. Dark Twinge, I saw you as well, man. Welcome on in to you as well. I don't know that realistic is a specific concern there, though, more about it sounding pleasant to listen to. It's both. Yeah, it's like, do you want to be convincing? Like, realistic and convincing are not quite the same thing necessarily, because there's like glowing white stuff. Like, what is this? They have no faces. It's not very realistic, right? But if I can be convinced that yes, that thing does sound like that, then that's all we care about. All right. So we'll carry on here. We're getting inside. Oh, I'll turn my side chain off also. Sorry about this. Here we go, so we can hear what's happening. It's a lot of footsteps here. That's one thing. Okay, so this gets back to what we were talking about before as well. Pre-life kind of goes the other way as well. It's this whole... It's a very common thing for designers to design what's right here and what they can see. And this is like a very, very good example of designing what you can see. And I'll tell you how you can improve this, okay? So watch our lady friend here as she walks across the way, and watch the bridge. And listen to the bridge. Where'd it go? Do we know? Can we theorize? Again, this is the same thing as pushing that stuff into the wall, and we can't see what's in there, but you'd probably hear something if you were standing right in front of it, right? With this case, we see later in this trailer this like huge dude come out of the chasm, and he's like a big guy, right? Like he's we can assume that he's been woken from his slumber from the thing falling down or something, who knows? Or their presence woke some magic, who knows what's happening. But the point is, this guy fits down there, you know? And I think that, okay, I get that. So excuse me, so Jordan says he was going for a bottomless pit kind of thing. That's fair, but even in a bottomless pit, you'd have like the shape of these wooden parts. If you can imagine them falling, they'd probably drift, they'd probably bounce off each other, they'd probably bounce off the walls as they tumbled down. There would be reverb as they kind of disappear into the abyss, and you hear only kind of the distant echoes of debris. And when this happens, you hear nothing at the end. Gone. Like it's like gone. There's not even any tailing out. It's definitely into the realm of what I was talking about, designing things you can't see. And that goes for things inside of structures, like the door outside. That goes for things like around corners obscured by your vision, like this pit here. That goes for things just like off the side of the screens that you might not see but are definitely there. This is like the number one thing that up-and-coming designers tend to miss. They tend to miss what you don't see. And what separates a good reel from a great reel, or a good redesign from a great redesign, a good redesign designs everything you see expertly. A great reel designs everything you see and what you can't see, and it implies presence of things that are not there. Like you're being told they are, but the video is doing nothing to tell you that it is. In some cases, like in this case, you can kind of, like you were saying, it could be a bottomless pit, it could be like a chasm with the bottom. Maybe it like hits the monster, he's just right beneath this thing, just hanging out like crouched, and he's like, oh, I got hit by this thing. Like it's up to you, you know? There you go. So we'll carry on here. Okay, so this is another small example of... So I think Joey was talking about this as well. It may be something else, but this impact... The difference between... and... You hear that? One's like... The is just a bit of extra detail to help give that impact some pre-life. This one, we see it coming, but it's not... You can easily give it a bit more life. You can imply a lot more weight by going... Just some whoosh. And when you whoosh into it, the whoosh should be like... Let's see, I'm gonna make an impact right now really fast. This is like a scream, but we can make it shaped like the same thing you just designed. We'll fool everyone, all right? So I'm gonna make a whoosh really fast here. So here's our whoosh and our impact, and I'll show you on the camera, okay? So this is our whoosh and impact. Okay, you got it? Actually, I'll make this large too. Large. All right, whoosh and impact. Cool with that? So this is our right here, and this is our whoosh in. So we want to have a whoosh. We would like cut it like this, and go like that, and go like this probably, and in that way we can move this in. I'm doing this with one hand, sorry guys. We can put this here, and it's like whoop, and quick bit of silence, and bam, because that gives us what you were going for there, Zerg, like the kind of dynamic impact of like bam happening. You can still achieve that, but you just do a whoosh all the way up and then down briefly and then bam after that. So not whoosh. If you whoosh straight into it, you lose that impact. So you go whoop bam, and you'll sound so much better. And that goes for a lot of things. That general philosophy, whether it's like a whoosh into a hit, like if it's a punch, like a thrown punch, or if it's like a sword, like it's that whoosh in separated from the impact is always going to sound good. And that same shape of things, like we were saying with the impact outside, like the gadung, it's like staircasing up and then drop off and then bam. The listener is still warned of the incoming impact, and it'll sound way better, and you'll get a way better reaction from the audience, and certainly a better one than being jarred and frightened. So we'll keep listening here, okay? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Joey's right. So the scream is like, or the roar is it's very on and off. It's like a square wave roar. So we'll play it here. Yeah, it's like it's like you have like an air compressor and you're like just on and off. I think you could probably like a kind of the, because things still make noise when their mouths are closed, right? Like if I want to roar, I can go I can do that, or I can go and I can build into it. It's the exact same philosophy again. Just have that movement of going quiet to loud. And by the way, I hate this background track. It's used so much. I've heard this background track in like 5 reels we've done on this stream. But it's just used everywhere, and I don't blame you, because it's like a good track, but it's just used so often. It's used often enough that you used it in your next piece. Like I heard it again, and I was like, no. It's all right though. It's all right. I can forgive that. Hey, there he is, Matt Test. I loved this. Yo. It fits the character a lot better, obviously. But it just sounds great. This is my favorite part of this reel, by the way. This sky giraffe, as we call him. I love that part. That was killer. There's a part here. There's the background track again. It's that same moment again. Alright. So, we spent a lot of time on that first one, so I think that's a good gist. I'm going to skip through these ones a little more. I'm sure Matt tore this apart a lot. The same things apply, though, man. Like, it's the exact same stuff. Be aware of perspective. Be aware of what's happening off-scene. Get those details in there. Get the pre-life in there. It's a lot of the same notes, just applied to a different medium. One thing we didn't really comment on so much was perspective, actually. So you're rocking reverb pretty hard, and I'll talk about that more in the next shot here, but the verb you're using is it's usually too much, I think. Just it might be a preferential thing, but I feel like, well, A, I don't blame you, because reverb is sick and it always sounds great, and you turn it on for the first time, you're like, oh yeah, give me more of that reverb, and it sounds awesome. But like, it's a good philosophy is to put it where you think it's perfect and then drop it down like 10-15%, and that's probably where it's actually good. Otherwise, you tend to come back the next day and listen on fresh ears, and you're like, oh my god, there's so much reverb. It's very common. And for this stuff, there were some screams that like... So this thing that... I assume it's coming from that, but it's kind of left and right, so I think you could put a lot more effort into spatializing your stuff, like put it in the panorama, make it mono, put it in the spot where it is in the screen, and if it moves, like move it across, right? Just track the movement on screen with the movement in the panorama. I think that'd do wonders for this stuff. This sound is kind of like wide. It's kind of all over right now, you know? So it's not really that kind of thing. It takes you out of the scene because you're hearing sounds from places where they're not. You're seeing it right in front of you, but you're hearing it to your left and right, you know? It's kind of like you're right inside his head, and you're hearing it from all around you. Where was that roar that was earlier? Sorry, I'm skipping all around here, I apologize. Yeah, so this roar, this verb doesn't sound to me like it's in... Okay, so reverb can be one of two things. It can be like stylized stuff to make things sound larger than life and interesting, or it can be trying to emulate a space. So if there's a shot like in an airport, you use a reverb that sounds like it's in an airport, and then therefore it puts the thing in the place, right? But in this case, I wasn't sure if you're going for like a cool sound or if you're going for the sound of the roar like echoing off the trees and stuff, because this sound to me... Again, like it's kind of all around, and that can be kind of cool if it's like, oh, it's like an all-encompassing scream or something. But it sounded to me more like it was being heard, like he was screaming like in a garage, and I was like across the garage or something. It kind of seemed a little more like roomy than maybe you wanted it to be. But again, that's kind of like a spatialization thing. You can like make sure that you can have stuff around you, of course, to make it sound really big and awesome, but making sure that the main source of audio is right in front of you, because that's where it is on the screen, is pretty important, just to make sure your perspective stays so it coheres. It's like cohesive with the scene, right? Yeah, same thing there. So we have this scream. And it's kind of all around you. Yeah, and like all that movement, there's so much movement here. Like on the ground, there's debris from the rocks, there's movement, scraping, there's all kinds of stuff you could be putting in there. Even the sounds of the limbs when like whipping around could be really great to imply a lot more power and strength and threat on that character.
Days reeling.
What's up, sound guy Chris? Days reeling. Good to see him. All right, so I'll jump through these. I'm not as concerned about content quality when it's an implementation part of a reel, because it's mainly showing that you're getting your feet wet with putting stuff into the game, and I kind of expect that things won't sound as good as they do in your trailer stuff. And that's not just you. That's like everyone I ever listen to. It's kind of assumable. If it sounds amazing in implementation, that's like rare and impressive. So I'm more about this whole section of your reel exists for one purpose only, and that is to show that you have interest and drive enough to do this. And that's all I care about. If it sounds okay, I'm happy. I can certainly give you notes on a lot of this stuff that I was kind of weirded out by. For one, it sounds like he's running like crazy. I don't know if that's me, but I heard it the first time too. I hear it again. He's running so fast. He's at like the tiniest legs, and he's running so fast. that kind of struck me as strange, but we'll carry on. This door was really cool. Or no, this wasn't. So this is next reel. Common view problem. Thanks, Sean. Okay, yeah. So this is fine. We'll skip ahead. Yeah, it's like it does the job. It's fine. I like this door a lot. It's pretty cool. My gripe was that it sounded the same opening as it does closing, I think. Here's the open. Open. Yeah. And then here, perspective. There's the open and close. It's not over there. It's still all around you. So the open seems like you're in the space, and the close sounds like you're still in the space. It's kind of weird. Anyway, skip ahead. Yeah, that crazy booming, echoing reverb, but other stuff in the scene doesn't sound like there's reverb on it, so it's kind of perspective stuff again. But again, I'm not that concerned because it's just like it's just here for one reason alone, and that's to show that you're interested. So, overall distinction, having implementation is very good, but it is becoming more and more common. So it does help, definitely. It puts you ahead of the guys and girls who did not have implementation examples in their reel. However, it is brought down by the fact that it's 4 freaking minutes long. So if you do make it shorter, it'd be a lot better. It'd be like a solid reel. I think that you could definitely do a lot more work on what you don't see, like I was saying. Things like pre-life, things like extra details, things like perspective on your designed elements. And like implementation is fine, man. Like it's not great, but it's fine for a reel at your current stage of your career. It's totally fine. And if you have like 15 seconds of each, good to go. Oh, change the order as well, Matt says. Interesting. So have what first, do you think, Matt? And as you're answering that, I will change over to our next reel. How about that? And turn Lifeform back on. So thank you again very much, Jordan. You the man.